I wake up every single morning in a state of absolute terror. Not worry, not stress, terror. I wake up sweating, convinced that everything I have built over 30 years is going to vanish in less than 30 days. That isn't a confession from a failing entrepreneur. That is the man currently running the most valuable company on earth. Jensen Huang just sat down in front of millions of people and shattered the biggest lie in modern business. The lie that once you make the billions, the anxiety stops. The lie that once you hit a $5 trillion valuation, you get to sleep in. He looked the world in the eye and said the exact opposite. He said, "I don't just endure pain, I chase it." And then he said the one thing you are never supposed to say to a generation obsessed with comfort and mental health. He said, "I hope you suffer." Why would a man with infinite resources wish suffering on you? Because he knows something about the human brain that you don't. Jensen believes that high expectations are the enemy of resilience. He recently explained that if you go to the best schools, get the best grades, and have everyone tell you how smart you are actually at a massive disadvantage. You have low tolerance for failure. Your expectations are too high. The moment you hit a wall, you shatter. Jensen calls this the tragedy of intelligence. He doesn't hire people who are just smart. He hires people who have scar tissue. He wants to see the wounds. He wants to know that you have stared into the abyss of bankruptcy and didn't blink, because that is exactly where he lives, every single day. Think about this. Nvidia is the engine of the entire AI revolution. Without his chips, ChatGPT doesn't exist. The stock market doesn't rally. The future pauses. And yet, Jensen admits he still works 7 days a week. He worked on Christmas. He worked on his birthday. When asked why, his answer was chilling, because we are always 30 days from going out of business. This isn't a figure of speech for him. It is a psychological survival mechanism. He tricks his brain into believing he is still that 20-year-old kid in a booth at Denny's, sketching a graphics card on a napkin with no money in the bank. He refuses to let himself feel safe, because the moment you feel safe, you stop innovating. The moment you feel successful, you become defensive. You try to protect what you have instead of building what you need. Comfort is the death of a company, and Jensen is terrified of comfort. He told a story recently about the $0 billion market. This is the secret sauce behind his empire. Most founders look for a total addressable market that is huge right now. They want to attack a space where there is already money flowing. Jensen does the opposite. He looks for markets that are worth $0. He spent billions of dollars developing CUDA, the software that runs AI today, 10 years before anyone cared about AI. Wall Street screamed at him. Investors told him he was burning cash on a fantasy. The stock dropped 80%. He didn't care. He said, "I am willing to be misunderstood for a very long time." That is a superpower. Most of us can handle being misunderstood for a week, maybe a month. Can you handle being called an idiot by the smartest people in the world for a decade? That is the price of $1 trillion vision. He wasn't trying to capture a market share. He was trying to solve a problem that nobody else realized was a problem yet. He knew that eventually the world would need to calculate massive amounts of data in parallel. He waited. He suffered. He built in the dark. And when the light finally turned on, he was the only one standing in the room. But here's the catch. Even now, sitting at the top of the mountain, he refuses to wear a watch. Have you noticed that? He never wears a watch. He says now is the most important time. He doesn't care about the 5-year plan. He doesn't care about what happened yesterday. He cares about this specific second. If he gets an email, he answers it immediately. If an engineer has a problem, he walks over to their desk right now. He flattens the hierarchy. He has 50 direct reports. 50. Most CEOs have 6. Why? Because he doesn't want the information filtered. He wants the raw data. He wants the truth, even if it hurts. He believes that companies rot from the inside when the CEO gets isolated from the ground floor. So he stays on the floor. He eats in the cafeteria. He walks the halls. He acts like a frantic startup founder, not a corporate executive. And this brings us back to the suffering. Jensen isn't telling you to seek out pain because he's a masochist. He's telling you that character is not formed in the good times. It is formed when the stock drops 50% and the press turns on you. It is formed when you launch a product and nobody buys it. It is formed when you have to fire your friends to save the ship. He says greatness is not intelligence. Greatness comes from character, and character isn't formed out of smart people. It is formed out of people who suffered. So look at your life right now. Look at the problems you are facing today. The debt, the stress, the uncertainty, the fatigue. You are trying to get rid of them. You are praying for them to stop. Jensen Huang is telling you to stop running, turn around and hug the monster. That pain you feel, that is the feeling of capacity expanding. That is the feeling of your expectations breaking so that your reality can actually grow. If you are comfortable right now, you are in danger. If you're relaxed, you are falling behind. But if you are scared, if you feel like everything could collapse if you don't execute perfectly today, congratulations. You are exactly where you need to be. You are in the torture chamber, and that is where the billions are made. So, I have a challenge for you, and I want you to be honest. I want you to go down to the comments right now and tell me the one thing you have been avoiding because it is painful. What is the hard conversation, the risky investment, or the brutal work session you've been putting off because you want to be comfortable? Write it down. Commit to it publicly. Type, "I choose the pain of," and finish the sentence. Don't just watch this video and go back to sleep. Wake up. The clock is ticking, and you are 30 days from irrelevance. Subscribe to the channel if you want to survive the next shift. Get to work.